as long as you're in this area, you can hear me. So I'll talk loud enough. If you're on that side or this side, I'll make sure you can hear me. We are now in Paradise Valley. Oh, I'm sorry, I got one more. I'm sorry. A couple more. Is that our group? Yeah, he's a few more. Or somebody after that, too? Two more after that, okay. All right, so we are now in Paradise Valley. This was the Black Business District. Today, if you come to the city of Detroit, you may have gone to Ford Field. So that's what sits here today. On the other side of Ford Field is Comerica Park. So Ford Field is where the Detroit Lions attempt to play football. And on the other side of that, is where the Detroit Tigers play baseball. But all of that used to be part of Paradise Valley, the Black Business District. So Gratiot is the dividing line. On the other side of Gratiot is Black Bottom, where we just left from. On this side of Gratiot is Paradise Valley, the Black Business District. Since black people couldn't own property everywhere, they tried to take over the area where they could. So since we can't own property here, then we'll buy a bunch of property or lease it from people who are willing to lease it or rent to us. But that's what they did. This area became the place where restaurants, stores, shops, grocery stores, hotels, theaters, jazz clubs, bars, candy stores. It was even a Venetian blind maker, doctor's offices, law offices. All of that was here in Paradise Valley because black people in Detroit, particularly in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, they wouldn't be catching the bus to go down. Well, they would live close to downtown, but most of the downtown shops didn't service black people. So if you went into a shop in downtown Detroit, if they let you in and you were black, you could just buy it. You could not try it on. You couldn't do none of that. Wow. So they came here. This is where they did all their primary shopping. And Black Bottom was a black-owned community. 350 black-owned businesses in the city of Detroit from the 1920s through the 1940s. And so in the daytime, black people were the owners, the workers, and the customers. And again, the foundation of that was this early black community who had institutions already in place, who were here during the Underground Railroad period. They're going to be joined by the people coming during the Great Migration, who are working at Ford Motor Company, who's now hiring black people and paying them $5 a day, and the other auto factories. So now they have a disposable income to do one or two things. One, to open up a business. I got a little bit more money. I can have a little business on the side. I work at the factory, but I'm a tailor. You know, I make clothes. You know, yeah, I work at the factory, but I'm a carpenter. You know, I know how to do that kind of stuff. And so those businesses be able to have an outlet to do those businesses, which they wouldn't have had as a sharecropper in Mississippi. All right, so they'll be able to do that. The other thing they're able to do with this disposable income is become customers and buy stuff that they wouldn't have been able to buy when they were sharecroppers. So that's going to help this place boom. The other thing that's going to help this place boom is because America is going to have a Prohibition Act. The 18th Amendment is going to outlaw alcohol. You can't buy it, you can't make it, you can't drink it, you can't sell it. But 2 years before that, Michigan is going to pass a prohibition law. So Michigan is before the rest of the country. Alcohol is illegal in Michigan before the rest of the country. There's people in Michigan trying to find ways to get around it. So by the time the 18th Amendment is passed, it's already people in Michigan already figured this out. In New York, the group of people who are going to be dominating bootlegging are the five families: La Cosa Nostra, the Mafia, the Commission, led by Lucky Luciano, Charles Lucky Luciano. In Chicago, Alphonse Capone, the leader of the outfit, the Chicago wing of La Cosa Nostra. Al Capone is going to run that. In Detroit, it ain't going to be no Sicilians. It's not going to be Sicilians. It's not going to be people from Italy. It's going to be Jewish people. Jewish people, the Jewish group that's going to run bootlegging in the city of Detroit are going to get most of their bootlegging right across that river. There's 4 whiskey distilleries in Canada. We live on the international border. Once again, laws in America don't apply across the river. And so this Jewish group are known as the Purple Gang. And they're going to dominate bootlegging in the city of Detroit. And the Sicilian La Cosa Nostra organizations are going to be small, big players in Detroit because the Purple Gang is going to dominate. Well, guess where Jewish people live? In the same neighborhood as black people, right in this area. They know all the black business owners. And they supply those black business owners with alcohol. So it's a candy store in the daytime. But at nighttime, it's a speakeasy, it's a club, it's jumping. And the majority of customers in the daytime are black. But at night, the majority of customers are white. Black people go, but black people in most cases don't possess the funds to be able to go to the club every night. And so it's predominantly white, customer-wise, at night. And so you got all of these clubs jumping. The other thing is, the pop music of that day was not Beyonce and Katy Perry. It was Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Benny Goodman, Cab Calloway. It's only one place you can go hear swing and big band jazz every night, Paradise Valley. Since that's the pop music, everybody's trying to hear that. So they're coming here, this place is booming. And on top of all of that, in New York, the Harlem Numbers Runners are running, they're controlling numbers until the 5 families go to war with them to take over numbers running. Eventually, the 5 families gonna win. And Queenie and the other Harlem Numbers Runners are gonna have to give up their power to the 5 families. In Chicago, Julian Black in Brownsville is controlling numbers running in Chicago until the Capone outfit goes to war with him, and eventually Frank Nitti and the other leaders of the Capone organization are going to take over numbers running in Chicago. In Detroit, the La Cosa Nostra is not a factor. The Jewish Purple Gang said, we're making so much money from bootlegging. Black people, y'all got that. Black people control numbers running in the city of Detroit from 1920 to the 1960s.
Wow.
So from the down the street where you bought your numbers, took your numbers running is the illegal lottery. All right, so it wasn't no 3-digit, 4-digit, scratch off, Mega Millions, Powerball, none of that stuff existed. You played the numbers, you played them illegally. And black people controlled numbers running in the city of Detroit from 1920s to 1960s, from the bottom guy on the corner, who you took your numbers from, to the top big man of numbers, would be talking to black people. All right? And so this is what's going to make Paradise Valley boom until the United States funds the freeway building. Black Bottom is already being in the middle of being destroyed. And the federal government is now going to add on more money if you build a freeway. The city is going to choose to put the freeway right through Hastings Street, the main street in Paradise Valley, and a major street in Black Bottom. And once they do that, they take the land by eminent domain, where the government pays you what they say that the land is worth. And they're paying you for the land, not for the business on that land. So if you got a hotel that's jumping, that don't matter. They're only paying you what they say the land is worth. And so this is what happens. This destroys Paradise Valley. Detroit would be a center of jazz, like the other centers, if not for this event. The centers of jazz are New Orleans, Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, and New York. Those are the jazz centers for historic jazz. Detroit would have been right there with Chicago if it wasn't for the destruction of Paradise Valley, which cut the jazz era in Detroit short. So it didn't last as long as it should have because of the building of that freeway. Those jazz musicians are trained musicians. They come out of Black Bottom. They train over here. Some of them go to the church. They playing church music on Sunday. But Saturday night, they was working at the clubs. All right? And then they train the next level of musicians since their day in the sun is over. They train the next level of musicians. Those are the Motown musicians. So Motown really can't, it wouldn't be no Motown without Paradise Valley. It wouldn't be no Paradise Valley without Black Bottom. It wouldn't be no Black Bottom without those black people from the Underground Railroad period. And all of that is tied to the freedom of Thornton and Ruth Blackburn on June 17, 1833. It's all one history. Whether we're talking about music, education, housing, schools, all of that, it's all the same history.
Can you just repeat that last sentence?
Yes. It's all one history, whether we're talking about music, education, housing, entertainment, businesses, or freedom fighting. It's all one history. All those things are connected. You can't have one without the other. Second Baptist is the first black church in the state of Michigan, and definitely in the city of Detroit. The third one was here. It was St. Matthew's Episcopal Church. It's sat where the Ford Field parking deck is. There's a brown historical marker. You can take a picture of it when we walk away. I'm not going over there. But that's what St. Matthew's, that was the third black church. The founder of that church is the first pastor of Second Baptist. He leaves that church and founds that one. So again, it's all connected. It's all one history. And that church will be where the Detroit branch of the NAACP is founded. The parents of the founder, Benjamin Lambert is the founder. Benjamin Lambert has a middle name, Benjamin Willoughby Lambert. Benjamin Willoughby is the man whose house they met to free Thornton and Ruther Blackburn. He's the grandfather of the man who founded the Detroit branch of the NAACP.
Wow.
This is all one history. They were founded right there. One of the frequent visitors of St. Matthew's Episcopal Church in Paradise Valley, and a frequent visitor of some of the clubs in Paradise Valley, was Clara B. Ford, the wife of Henry Ford. Now, why is Clara B. Ford the wife of one of the wealthiest men, white men, in Detroit, who is not an integrationist? He don't believe in race mixing. Why is his wife hanging out at the black clubs and the black church? She's all but a member of the black church. Y'all can figure it out.
Was she a pastor?
Because her man was there.
Yeah.